Citadel and Galactic Government. Battle of the Citadel. In 2183, a rogue spectre named Saren Arteus attacked the Citadel through a functioning mass relay hidden inside a statue in the Presidium. Saren brought a combined force of Krogan and Geth infantry from Ilos, timing the attack so that he would be at the Citadel's controls when the Geth fleet and his flagship, Sovereign, arrived. In the battle that followed, the Destiny Ascension Dreadnought evacuated the Citadel Council, but ordered the Warlord's arms closed, sealing them and the Geth inside an impenetrable shell, cutting off any reinforcements or escape. This combative tactic would have wholly destroyed the Council fleet were it not for the actions of Commander Shepard, who had followed Saren through the relay from Ilos. Okay, here we go. This is where it becomes interesting. Led by Shepard's ship, Normandy, the Systems Alliance 5th Fleet assembled under the command of Admiral Hackett and waited just outside the Citadel's closed arms. Meanwhile, Shepard fought Saren's forces inside the Citadel and eventually forced the ward arms open again. The Normandy defeated the Destiny Ascension as it fled, saving the lives of the Citadel Council. Taking its cue from the Normandy, the 5th Fleet supported the withdrawal and took heavy losses from Sovereign's advanced firepower. At about the same time, Shepard killed Saren. Sovereign's once impervious kinetic barrier overloaded, and the 5th Fleet focused its military might to shatter the flagship. The Geth fleet was soon decimated without its leader. In gratitude for the many human lives sacrificed to save it, the Council made the unprecedented move of offering humans the chance to become a Council race. Ambassador Donald Udina and Captain David Anderson accepted this honor on behalf of their species. That's true. Cool. Citadel Conventions. These diplomatic talks occurred in the wake of the Krogan rebellions as a response to the destruction of the conflict and an attempt to distance the Council from the brutal Krogan warfare. The conversations regulate the use of weapons of mass destruction. A WMD causes environmental alteration to the world. A bomb that produces a large crater is not considered a WMD. A bomb that causes a nuclear winter is. Use of a WMD is forbidden on garden worlds like Earth, with ecospheres that can readily support a population. If a habitable world is destroyed, it will not be replaced for millions of years. The conventions do not forbid the use of WMD on hostile worlds or in sealed space station environments. Many militaries continue to develop and maintain stockpiles. Of course they do. The conventions graded weapons of mass destruction into tiers of concern. Tier 1 is the greatest threat to galactic peace. Tier 1. Large kinetic impactors such as asteroid drops or deorbiting space stations, effectively free and available in any system in the form of debris left over from planetary accretion. Kinetic impactors are the weapon of choice for terrorists and Third Galaxy nations. Third Galaxy nations. Tier 2. Uncontrolled self-replicating weapons such as nanotechnology, viral or bacteriological organisms, von Neumann devices, and destructive computer viruses. These weapons can lie dormant for millennia, waiting for a careless visitor to carry them on to another world. Tier 3 weapons, large energy burst weapons such as nuclear or antimatter warheads. And finally Tier 4, alien species deliberately introduced to crowd out native forms necessary for the health of an ecosystem. Ecological tempering can take years to bear fruit, making it difficult to prove. Of course. Cool. Okay, Citadel Council. Okay, let's see if we find out something about the Citadel Council after we save them. The Council is an executive committee composed of representatives from the Asari Republics, the Turian Hierarchy, and the Solarian Union. And now, the humans, right? Though they have no official power over the independent governments of other species, the Council's decisions carry great weight throughout the galaxy. No single Council race is strong enough to defy the other two, and all have a vested interest in compromise and cooperation. Each of the Council species has general characteristics associated with the various aspects of governing the galaxy. The Asari are typically seen as diplomats and mediators. The Solarians gather intelligence and information. The Turians provide the bulk of the military and peacekeeping forces. Any species granted an embassy on the Citadel is considered an associate member bound by the accords of the Citadel Conventions. Associate members may bring issues to the attention of the Council, though they have no input on the decision. The Human Systems Alliance became an associate member of the Citadel in 2165. Citadel Space. Citadel Space is an unofficial term referring to any region of space controlled by the species that acknowledges the authority of the Citadel Council. At first glance, it appears this territory encompasses most of the galaxy. In reality, however, less than 1% of the stars have been explored. Jesus! Less than 1%. Even Mass Effect FTL drive is slow relative to the volume of the galaxy. Empty space and systems without suitable drive discharge sites are barriers to exploration. Only the mass relays allow ships to jump hundreds of light years in an instant, the key to expanding across an otherwise impassable galaxy. Whenever a new relay is activated, the destination system is rapidly developed. From that hub, FTL drive is used to expand the nearby star clusters. The result is a number of densely developed clusters thinly spread across the vast expanse of space connected by the mass relay network. Citadel Security Services, or CSEC. The CSEC is a volunteer police service answering to the Citadel Council. The 200,000 constables of the CSEC are responsible for maintaining public order in the densely populated Citadel. They also provide pirate suppression, customs enforcement, and search and rescue throughout the Citadel cluster. CSEC has 6 divisions. Enforcement is the first division. Uniformed officers who patrol the Citadel and respond to emergencies. Investigation. Detectives who puzzle out the truth behind crimes and bring perpetrators to justice. Customs. Screens and the thousands of passengers and cargo containers that pass through the Citadel's ports every day. Network. Deals with cybercrimes like identity and copyright theft, hacking and viral attacks, and illegal artificial intelligence. Special Response. Deals with hostage situations, bombs, and heavily armed criminals. In the unlikely event that attackers board the Citadel, they are also the front line of defense armed with military-grade equipment. Patrol. Naval arm with ships stationed throughout the Citadel cluster. Unlike the other divisions, they are rarely seen in the Citadel, nor do they stay in one place for long. Joining CSEC is prestigious. Applications must be sponsored by the Citadel Councilor or the ambassador of an associate council race. Generally, applicants have many years of distinguished service in the military or police forces of their nation, but an inexperienced applicant with demonstrable talent will be fairly considered. CSEC and the Spectres are often at odds. Many CSEC members, notably current executor Vanari Palin, believe that allowing Spectres to be above the law is a dangerous practice. The action of Saren Arterius lend credence to this position. Yeah, that's true. The Spectres, in turn, are aggravated when CSEC dedication to procedure and due processes hampers their investigation, of course. Like we've seen a little bit in the previous game. Moving on to foundations. The undersides of the wards between the inhabited superstructures and impenetrable outer hull are called the foundations. These dangerous areas are filled with life support systems and power plants. Officially, only the keepers are allowed in the foundations. In reality, the foundations are the slums of the Citadel, home to criminals, minorities, transients, and occasional stateless exiles. Some stay in the foundations of their own will. Yeah, really. Others end up there when the opportunities they sought in the Citadel do not come to fruition, I presume. The station's recycling systems are located in the foundations. These manufacture a variety of artificial organic pastes that can be eaten for sustenance. They are free and nutritious, but nearly tasteless and of unpleasant texture. Nice. Poorer Citadel residents quickly become adept at dressing up this bland fare with sauces and spices, while imported foodstuffs are a popular luxury of the wealthy. Oh, great. Presidium Ring. The ring is an enclosed loop of park-like space serving as the connection point of the wards. The interior walls are lined with the embassies of influential species and private residencies of the galaxy's elite. The Presidium is full of open-air restaurants, bars, and luxurious meeting areas. Gravity is about 1/3 Earth normal. A holographic sky is projected over the ceiling of the ring. Unlike the 24/7 bustle of the wards, the Presidium maintains a 20-hour day schedule, with a 6-hour night where lights are dimmed and the sky goes through a night cycle. Okay, cool. Offices and residences are often open to the interior. It is not unusual for embassies to have no exterior wall at all. This does not cause a crime problem due to the heavy CSEC presence and ubiquitous monitoring devices on the Presidium. Thieves are quickly identified and apprehended. The ring is the location of the Citadel's spaceports. Being closer to the center of spin, there is less motion for a ship to match, and the reduced spin gravity makes handling cargo easier. Hundreds of ships pass through the Citadel every day, and every species with an embassy is granted a private dock. The tower at the center of the ring holds the administration of the Citadel Council. The tower rises over a kilometer from the ring, appearing to thrust forward parallel to the ward arms. As the tower is at the center of the spin axis, it experiences little centrifugal force. Gravity is maintained using Mass Effect fields at a 90-degree angle to the ring and wards. A consular dock can be found at the base of the tower. While normally used for diplomatic couriers and Spectre business, the shuttles docked here can evacuate the council government in an emergency. Cool. Citadel Station, the Serpent Nebula. The Citadel is surrounded by a blue-tinted reflection nebula. The light of the nebula is actually light from the Citadel scattered and reflected back at the station. At first, the Serpent Nebula was assumed to be made of microscopic construction debris. Prevailing theory holds that the Protheans used molecular nanotechnology to manufacture the incredibly durable materials used in the Citadel. But unlike other nebulae, the Serpent does not dissipate over time. Therefore, it must be replenished constantly. The current popular theory is that the non-recyclable waste collected by the Citadel's keepers is somehow rendered down to the atomic or molecular level and ejected into the cloud. The thick nebula presents a navigation hazard. Beyond the relatively clear areas around the Citadel, electrical discharges are common. These are not blocked by kinetic barriers and can severely damage metal-framed starships. In addition, some dense knots of dust can overwhelm the repulsion of kinetic barriers on smaller ships. If such a vessel is moving fast enough, at the time the effects are similar to being hit by a sandblaster. Attempting to reach the Citadel through open space navigation is unadvisable. The only safe approach is through the various mass relays that orbit it. Statistics. Citadel Station statistics. Okay, so although the Citadel is equipped with the mass effect generating element 0 cores, most of the gravity on the station is generated by the centrifugal force of rotation. And you can see here some statistics. I won't go through them. Let's move on to the wards. The majority of the Citadel's population lives in the wards, the 5 massive arms of the station that house the residential and commercial districts. Many galactic races have established cultural enclaves here. Population density and cost of living are extremely high, akin to Earth cities such as Hong Kong and Singapore. It's very interesting that in 2185, right? Hong Kong and Singapore are the most expensive cities on Earth. The wards are open-topped with skyscrapers rising from the superstructure. Towers are sealed against vacuum as the breathable atmosphere envelope is only maintained to a height of about 7 meters. The atmosphere is contained by the centrifugal force of rotation and a membrane of dense, colorless sulfur hexafluoride gas held in place by a carefully managed mass effect field. The view from the wards is spectacular. In the background, stars, Serpent Nebula, and the nearby blue giant called the Widow move across the sky as the station rotates to stabilize itself. In the foreground, the lights of buildings and vehicles on the opposing ward arms perpetually shine. The Citadel has no real day or night. While the station keeps to standard galactic time for political functions, businesses rarely close and residents acclimate to sleep and work according to personal need rather than a day-night cycle. Additions and modifications are constantly being constructed, though they must stay within certain specifications that will not compromise the operation of the station. Occasionally the keepers will descend on an area of the wards and move to change the architecture without explanation. Residents have learned to live with these inexplicable intrusions. Okay, Treaty of Phyrexian. Due to the destructive potential of dreadnoughts, the Council races agreed that at the Phyrexian Naval Conference to fix a ratio of dreadnought construction between themselves. At the top of the pyramid is the peacekeeping Turian fleet. Below the Turians are the other Council races, currently the Asarian Salarians. Council associate races are at the bottom. The Human Systems Alliance is part of this last group. The ratio of Turian to Council to associate dreadnoughts is 5 to 3 to 1. For every dreadnought humans are permitted to build, the Asari have 3 and the Turians have 5. Cool. Okay, so this is all that we know about the Citadel and the Galactic Government. Moving on to humanity and the Systems Alliance. Earth. Let's talk about Earth a little bit. The homeworld and capital of humanity is entering a new golden age. The resource wealth of a dozen settled colonies and 100 industrial outposts flows back to Earth, fueling great works of industry, commerce, and art. The great cities are greening as arcology skyscrapers and telecommuting allow more efficient use of land. Earth is still divided among nation-states, though all are affiliated beneath the overarching banner of the Systems Alliance. While every human enjoys a longer and better life than ever, the gap between rich and poor widens daily. Advanced nations have eliminated most genetic diseases and pollution. Less fortunate regions have not progressed beyond the 20th century technology and are often smog-choked, overpopulated slums. Sea levels have risen 2 meters in the last 200 years, and violent weather is common due to environmental damage inflicted during the late 21st century. The past few decades, however, have seen significant improvement due to recent technological advances. Jesus. Moving on to First Contact War. Humanity's first contact with an alien race occurred in 2157. At that time, the Alliance allowed survey fleets to activate any dormant mass relays discovered, a practice considered dangerous and irresponsible by the Council-aligned races. When a Turian patrol discovered the human fleet attempting to activate a relay, they attacked. One human vessel survived, retreating to the colony of Shangxi. The Turians followed quickly, defeating the local forces. Shangxi was occupied, the first and to date the only human world to be conquered by an alien species. The Turians believed the handful of ships they defeated represented the bulk of human defenses, so they were unprepared when the Second Fleet under Admiral Castany Drescher launched a strong counteroffensive, evicting them from Shangxi. The Turians mobilized a full-scale war, drawing the attention of the rest of the galaxy. The Council quickly intervened, forcing a truce. Fortunately for humanity, the First Contact War was ended with a diplomatic solution. Gagarin Station, or Jump Zero. Gagarin Station is the largest deep space station built by humanity. A Bernal sphere designed with a 500-meter diameter habitable area. It was constructed beyond Pluto, nearly 80 astronomical units, or 12 billion kilometers from the Sun. Moving crew and material to this location bankrupted most of the backers. Gagarin was placed at the inner edge of the heliopause, the point at which the solar wind can no longer push back the interstellar medium. It was built to test a number of faster-than-lightning drive principles that theoretically could only occur in interstellar space. The station was nicknamed Jump Zero as it was intended to be the jumping-off point for humanity's expansion into the galaxy. Shortly after the station was completed, the Prothean ruins were discovered on Mars, rendering the effort moot. After struggling to make a profit for a decade, Gagarin was sold to the Systems Alliance in 2159 for a fraction of its construction cost. The Alliance refurbished it as a research and training center for the recently discovered biotic phenomenon. In 2169, the Biotic Acclimation and Training Program was shut down and Gagarin became a general research facility. Its remote location and intentional isolation from the extranet makes it popular for dangerous research, particularly in the field of artificial intelligence. Humanity's first stable AI, the Alliance-sponsored ELIZA, achieved sapience at Gagarin in 2172. Today, Gagarin Station has a permanent population of approximately 9,000. A plan has been proposed to move it into the gravitationally stable Barry Center point between Pluto and the Charon Relay, allowing it to serve as a gateway facility between the Sol and Arcturus systems. The high cost of safely moving its mass has delayed this indefinitely. Genetic engineering. In the 22nd century, manipulation of the human genome became commonplace. Techniques of genetic engineering advanced to the point where the rich could custom-build fetuses that grew into stronger, smarter, and more attractive adults. In more permissive regions, custom-designed life forms and uplifted animals occupied an ill-defined niche between property and sapient being. Travel to planets with unique forms of life brought an awareness that Earth's unique biodiversity could be lost if spliced and hybridized to gain useful alien qualities. The Sudam-Walcott Generic Heritage Act was passed by the Systems Alliance Parliament in 2161. It imposed sharp restrictions on controversial use of genetic engineering, but provided government subsidies for beneficial applications. Screening and therapy. Most governments provide free assessments and corrective therapy for genetic diseases in prospective parents. This has nearly eliminated everything from cystic fibrosis to nearsightedness. The earlier screening and therapy is performed, the more comprehensive the results. Though ideally performed on an artificially fertilized zygotes in the lab, procedures are available for embryos in the womb and newborns out of respect for personal beliefs. Enhancement. Improvement of natural human abilities is legal, but adding new abilities is not. Treatments to improve strength, reflexes, mental acuity, or appearance are permitted. Adding a tail or the ability to digest cellulose is not. Okay. Some genetic enhancements are provided for free to Alliance military recruits, but the average citizen must pay for the privilege. The process can take years of research. The process can take years to reach fruition in an adult. Engineering. Artificial hybridization of genes from compatible non-human species with human genetic code is illegal. Creation of designed life is broadly legal and mainly used for terraforming and medical applications. But sentient creatures are heavily regulated, and creation of sapient life is outlawed by both the Systems Alliance and the Citadel Council. Systems Alliance Geological Survey. Here we go. This is where I think our assignments from Mass Effect 1 come into play. Let's see. As the human race expands its territory and raises the general standard of living, demand for industrial resources continues to grow. Many planets, moons, and asteroids contain a wealth of resources, but many systems have barely been charted, let alone thoroughly surveyed. Unmanned probes are one solution, but they are often lost in space, lost to space hazards, unforeseen circumstances, or theft by salvagers. In recent years, Aegis, the Alliance Geological Service, has offered bounties to private individuals or teams willing to perform mineralogical surveys on the frontier. This survey data is made publicly available to further corporate development. Due to the cost of travel and the dangers of operating on hostile worlds, it is rarely a profitable endeavor. Light metals are the metals with low atomic weight are often used in construction and of spacecraft and vehicles. Heavy metals, metals with higher atomic weights, are used to construct equipment components. The platinum group elements are particularly useful. And rare elements, or rare earths rather, most useful materials in the category are radioactives and magnets, and gases. Various gases are required to support all known forms of sapient life. Some are commonly used as fuel. Okay. Cool. Military doctrine of the Systems Alliance. The Alliance military is of great concern to the galaxy. At first contact with the Turians, they were completely inexperienced. Turian disdain changed to respect after the relief of Shang-Chi, where the humans surprised them with novel technologies and tactics. The human devotion to understanding and adapting to modern space warfare stunned the Citadel Council races. For hundreds of years, they had lived behind secure walls of long-proven technologies and tactics. The Council regards the Alliance as a sleeping giant. Less than 3% of humans volunteer to serve in the military, a lower proportion than any other species. While competent, Alliance soldiers are neither as professional as the Turians nor as skilled as the Asari. Their strengths lie in fire support, flexibility, and speed. They make up for lack of numbers with sophisticated technical support, like VIs, drones, artillery, electronic warfare, and emphasis on mobility and individual initiative. The doctrine is not based on absorbing and dishing out heavy shocks like the Turians and Krogan. Rather, they bypass enemy strong points and launch deep into their rear, cutting supply lines and destroying headquarters and support units, leaving enemies to wither on the vine. On defense, the human military is a rapid reaction force that lives by Sun Tzu's maxim: he who tries to defend everything defends nothing. Garrisons are intended for scouting rather than combat, avoiding engagement to observe and report on invaders using drones. The token garrisons of human colonies make it easy for alien powers to secure them, for which the Alliance media criticizes the military. However, the powerful fleets stationed at phase-gate nexuses such as Arcturus are just a few hours or days from any colony within their sphere of responsibility. In the evidence of an attack, they respond with an overwhelming force. Cool. Now, Systems Alliance military jargon. Ashore. When a ship's crew leaves the vessel, they are ashore. Though normally used regarding planets, it can refer to boarding a space station also. Away. When a ship releases the equipment tethering it to a space station or surface dock, it is away. Okay. Aye is the proper way to acknowledge an order. If told to attack, the correct response is aye sir. If asked, are you proud to be a Marine, the correct response is yes sir. Okay. ASAP, pronounced ASAP, an acronym for as soon as possible. Belay means stop or cease. Bridge, the navigation center of a spacecraft where the steering is done. Captain's mast is the non-judicial disciplinary proceedings by unit commanders. CIC means Combat Information Center and is the command center of a spacecraft. The CIC is filled with sensor displays to make sense out of the chaos of combat. DC means damage control, the containment and repair of damage to a spacecraft. ECM stands for Electronic Countermeasures, used to avoid enemy sensors, from passive emissions masking to active jamming. EVA means extravehicular activity, time spent in a pressure suit outside the vehicle, spacecraft, or station. Flank. The flank is the side of a military formation. Since the soldiers are facing elsewhere, an enemy that can attack on the flank can often turn it or roll it up. FNG means fricking new guys or fricking new guy, a derisive term for inexperienced personnel. FNG. Groundside, the surface of the planet. Helmsman, the crew member who pilots a spacecraft. LADAR is a light amplified detection and ranging. An active sensor that bounces lasers off an object to determine its bearing and distance. LADAR has sufficient resolution that the data can be reconstructed into an image. Shore party is a spacecraft crew sent ashore on official business. Silent running, an old submariner's term used aboard the Normandy to denote when stealth systems are active. SITREP, abbreviation for Situation Report, an evaluation of the current military situation. Spacer is someone who has spent most of their life in space, and XO stands for Executive Officer, the second in command of an Alliance warship. The XO is responsible for administrative and personnel matters. Cool. Moving on to military ranks. The Alliance uses a modified version of the ranking system that has been used for hundreds of years. Soldiers are classified into rank and file enlisted personnel, experienced non-commissioned officers, or NCOs, and specially trained officers. The divide between naval personnel and ground forces, or Marines, is small. Ground units are a specialized branch of the fleet, just as fighter squadrons are. This unity of command is imposed by the futility of fighting without control of orbit. Without the Navy, any army is pointless. The Marines, as a matter of pride, maintain some of their traditional rank titles. For example, Marines have privates and corporals instead of servicemen. In ascending order of responsibility, the ranks of the Alliance are: enlisted, serviceman 3rd class, private 2nd class, serviceman 2nd class. Okay, I'm not going to go through all of these. I'm just going to scroll down a little bit, and you can stop the video if you want to really go through the rankings here. But now I'm going to just move on to the Systems Alliance N7. The Alliance Military Vocational Code systems classified the career path of all serving personnel. The MVC consists of one letter and one number. A soldier's MVC indicates proficiency, not rank. The letter notes career path. The number indicates level of experience as indicated by service record, technical scores, and commendations. All 26 letters are used and numbers run from 1 to 7. N is the letter code for Special Forces personnel. Cool. For those of you that don't know what N7 means. Terra Firma Party. Terra Firma is an Alliance political party formed after the First Contact War. Its policy agenda is based on the principles that Earth must stand firm against alien influences. This covers a variety of legislation. Recent activities by Terra Firma include opposition to a law requiring high school alien language study, a proposal to increase tariffs on alien imports, and leading a popular movement to mark the First Contact War with a public holiday. Though founded by well-meaning individuals who feared the submersion of native human cultures under a wave of alien vogue, Terra Firma's agenda attracts many jingoists and xenophobes. That's bad. Okay, and the timeline here. So let's briefly go through the timeline, although I think it's the same timeline as in Mass Effect 1 by the looks of it. I'm just gonna slowly scroll through everything, and I'm gonna let you read it. If you want to read it, go ahead and pause the video and read it as you wish. Right? I'm just gonna scroll down slowly here because we already went through this in Mass Effect 1, and even though it is an interesting read for me at the moment. I kind of know what's going on here, and I kind of know, everything that has happened. So yeah, and I went through this already. As you can see, we were born in 2154. Okay, and so on and so forth. I wonder if there's anything new added. Let's see if there's anything new added for after 2080. I don't think so. Oh, really? Okay, here we go. The last entry, or one of the last entries. Here we go. In 2183, Geth, led by Rogue Spectre Saren Arterius, attacked the Citadel, ensuing a battle that cost thousands of lives. A few weeks later, the SSV Normandy is ambushed and destroyed. Commander Shepard is presumed dead. Okay. And as you can see, at the moment we are in 2185. Okay, cool. So, now that we have humanity and the Systems Alliance all read up on, let's move on to Planets and locations. Okay, we have Ilos and Vermeer, which is very cool. Let's see what they have to say about Ilos. Like the ancient human city of Troy, Ilos is a world known only through second-hand sources. References to Ilos have been found at several other Prothean ruins, though direct study of the world is unlikely to occur. Ilos lies in a remote area of the Terminus systems only accessible by the legendary Mu Relay. 4,000 years ago, the Mu Relay was knocked out of position by a supernova and lost. Since then, Ilos and its cluster have been inaccessible. Occasionally, a university will organize an expedition to chart a route to Ilos using conventional FTL drive. These never get beyond the planning stages due to the distance and danger. The journey could take years or decades, passing through the hostile Terminus systems and dozens of unexplored systems. But as you well know, we have already been there. It's interesting that there's no record of us being there, but yeah. Even if it would be like a classified record. Okay, Vermeer. Vermeer is a lush world located on the frontier of the Attican Traverse, not the Vatican Traverse, the Attican Traverse. Its vast seas and orbital position on the inner life zone have created a wide equatorial band of humid tropical terrain. Only the political instability of the region has impeded efforts at colonization. Many times the Citadel has opened negotiations to settle Vermeer with the various criminal gangs and petty dictatorships in the nearby Terminus systems. All fell apart due to internal power shifts within the opposing parties. The Citadel has written off the colonization of Vermeer as impossible without significant political change. The Terminus powers themselves are unlikely to ever settle Vermeer. Most lack the resources to support settlement of a virgin world, finding it more expedient to steal from their neighbors than build for themselves. Jesus, yeah. Okay. That's it for planets and locations.